how's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to System Triple Point and Friend. I am Friend, and today I'm here with this lovely human.
Hi.
You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Marlai. I am Colleen's roommate, and I use they, them pronouns.
Sick. So today we are going to be talking about mental illnesses, specifically like the similarities between symptoms and how odd it is that those symptoms can add up to completely different diagnoses. Okay, so do you want to start talking about like the kind of symptoms that you experience?
Yeah, sure.
And how it kind of like relates to your everyday life and things like that.
Yeah, okay. So I guess one of the biggest things I deal with is probably dissociation. Just like times when I just kind of like stop existing for a while. I often can't move. Really bad ones that are more like flashbacks. Those ones can sometimes like leave me not able to move for like hours or like not able to talk for even longer. I often like go mute afterward for a while. That's why I've been learning sign. I have a problem with like hypervigilance and hyper awareness.
Can you explain what hypervigilance is? Because
yeah,
I legit don't know.
It just means like I constantly am looking over my shoulder because I'm afraid that like something's gonna happen to me and I can never like sit still. I always feel like scared. Like I especially notice it if I'm like walking alone. I'm constantly like looking around because I'm afraid that someone's following me, or like stuff like that.
I mean, that's fair considering the current social climate we live in.
Yeah.
AFAB people walking alone at night is never a good idea.
Yeah. Actually, it's better when I'm at night, I guess. Like, because there are less people out and about. Like, it's more like crowd that, like, scares me the most.
Crowds, like, fuck with me.
Yeah. That's a good segue into, like, problems processing sensory input. Lots of noise or, like, too many people around or too much light. Like, I have to walk around with sunglasses a lot. And I kind of feel like a douchebag when I have to wear them inside. But it's fine. But I have to try really hard to, like, regulate those sensory inputs, which can make it kind of hard. I do stim a lot to help with that. And, yeah.
Cool.
What else? I have really bad insomnia, ever since I was, like, 5 or 6.
Yike.
And, I recently started taking medication for that. Which is why I missed class today, because I accidentally took one too many. Yeah, I think that about covers all of my symptoms, that, like, all the, like, major ones that I can think of right now.
Yeah.
There are probably more that I'm just not coming to mind.
Cool. So, I come across, I think, as very, like, hyper. You know, because, like, I have to move around a lot, because I feel, like, nervous all the time, too. Less hypervigilance and more just general anxiety, I guess, and stuff like that. What else? I get intrusive thoughts.
Oh, yeah, that's one I didn't
Those
mention.
suck.
Yeah, I get those
like,
as well.
I get, like, those fucking, like, gross sexual ones.
Oh, yeah.
That I, like, your brain's like, you can't tell anybody about this. Some of them are, like, bad things, very bad things happening to, like, the people I care about.
Yeah.
Keeps me up at night. A lot.
Yeah, a lot of my intrusive thoughts are just, like, random ways that I could, like, die.
Right?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like, I get a...
Have you seen that Tumblr post that's like, me pouring fabric softener?
Oh, yeah.
Shit brain. Drink. Me. No? Brain. Smell nice. Drink.
Yeah, mine's the kind
It's
that's
not
like...
even like it's not even like me being suicidal.
Yeah.
It's literally like my brain's just like I'll be like buttering some toast and my brain's like, there are probably at least 5 different ways you could die while holding this bread and butter right now.
Yeah, no, that's me.
I'm like, okay, great. Thanks so much.
Like, me, like, walking anywhere, I, like, look around and, like, there's, like, 25 different ways I could die in this minute right now.
And you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I get panic attacks. Those suck. If they range though, they like vary in severity, which I think is common for a lot of people.
Yeah, same for me.
And they also vary in like the way I respond to them. So like yesterday was fucking weird. I haven't like been that shaky during a panic attack, like ever. But there are basically like two different like major triggers for me for my panic attacks. And that's either like I'm too much in my own head, so like the intrusive thoughts, or me just like spiraling. And then there's also just like I get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So like yesterday, it was the fucking weirdest. I just like turned on my phone and got overwhelmed because I had like a voicemail from someone I didn't know. I had like 3 or 4 different emails from like actually important things. So, and like a whole bunch of texts. It was weird. And so I, like the mixture of that, and then I was in choir, so like all this sound that was happening, I was like,
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Yeah, we're just gonna stop.
We're just gonna stop, and you're gonna want to puke in the middle of your choir.
You're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, right.
Brain, I'm taking off for a little while. Have fun.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I dissociate also. They've seen it. It was not long, and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was only like 5 minutes, and you just kind of like laid down while we were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like my vision tunnels when I dissociate sometimes. But the way I describe it, my high school counselor and I described it as dematerializing, because it literally feels like I'm floating but sinking at the same time, and I'm like physically atom by atom coming apart.
Yeah.
And it's the scariest thing in the fucking world. Oh god, I
forget
it.
the word for the kind of dissociation I experience.
Depersonalization?
I think that might be it.
Is it where you feel like you're not real, or you feel like your surroundings aren't real? Because I do both.
No, but mine kind of just feels like, I mean, it almost feels like a kind of depersonalization. Like, the way I am when I dissociate is very akin to how people describe, like, the beginnings of dissociative identity, but, like, not as extreme. It's more like I'm just kind of, like, not in my body, and I don't know what is, and then I'm back. And it's been, like, 40 minutes.
You're valid.
Yeah. So, like, things stop feeling real, and I start, like, not being in my body, and then I'm back.
So, like, an example of so that's depersonalization.
Okay.
Is where, like, you feel like you're watching yourself. Maybe,
Yeah.
like,
Okay, then that's what it is.
Yeah. And then an example of derealization is, like, I remember at a football game that I was at, everything started looking like a video game. Like, I looked down at the field, and it literally looked like one of those, like, shitty NFL Madden football games.
I've had that happen a few times. It's very rare.
Yeah.
I usually have depersonalization, but that has happened a few times.
Yeah, and I literally turned to my friend and was like, who's controlling the video game? And he's like, what? He's like, are you okay?
Especially if I'm in an unfamiliar place, I'll just kind of look around and feel like I'm in some kind of, like, TV set. Like a film set.
The fucking midgets.
And, like,
the quickest way to make me dissociate is to talk about theories of the existence of the universe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my fucking god. I was in world religions, but for some reason we always talked about theories of the existence of the universe. And so I would literally, like, walk into class and just walk out. And I'm like, I look at the clock and it's like, oh, it's lunchtime. But it was like 9:30, 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. I was in like, a store the other day, and I was, like, sitting down at the bench at the front because I, like, couldn't stand for a long time because I'd been walking all day. And I just kind of looked around, and it felt fake.
Yeah.
And it felt like a, like, set on a TV show, and, like, everybody was an actor, and, like,
God,
felt
I hate that.
fake.
Yeah. That's weird.
But that happens more rarely. I usually have the other kind, but it has happened.
I haven't been officially diagnosed yet, so I don't want to call them compulsions.
You're valid. Like,
but, like, you've seen, like, I'll knock on my arm.
Yeah.
I just did it because it always has to be. If I start, it always has to be 10 times, and I don't know why. But like if it's 9, I have to start over, and if it's 11, I have to start over.
Because I mean, like even if you don't get an official like diagnosis for that, like it's still compulsion, even if it's not related to that particular diagnosis.
Yeah. There was one time when I was at Target and I like got out of the car and I locked it, and I knew I locked it like rationally, but my brain was like, pull on the handle 10 times or someone's gonna break into your car, and I was like.
Yeah, I also do like a similar thing, like probably not for the same reasons you do it, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But I often have a thing where like, if I am typing something, I need to read it like 40 times to make sure I like typed everything perfect.
Yeah, you did that earlier.
Yeah. I was trying to type in my girlfriend's phone number into their phone so I could text her and be like, hey, my phone died. And I had to reread her phone number like 20 times to make sure I typed the digits correctly and we weren't like calling a wrong number.
Yeah. I was so worried that I had put, because someone at the Lavender Social today took a picture, and I was so worried that, like, I accidentally put in the wrong number because I didn't get the photo right away.
Yeah.
And I was like, who did I just send this photo to?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think that that's it for symptoms.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, antidepressive symptoms. Sometimes the thought of going outside gives me panic attacks.
Same.
So that's fun. And then there are times when I, like, don't speak. But that's mostly when I'm dissociating or when my anxiety is very, very, very high. How do you cope with your symptoms, your various...
Mostly stimming. Stimming is a lot of it. Yeah, I've been stimming with this, bead bracelet this entire video.
Do you want to explain to the people what stimming is?
Yeah,
I
stimming...
I think I touched on it a little bit in a previous video.
Yeah.
But do you want to...
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
So stimming is short for self-stimulatory behavior, and it is like a type of fidgeting or something to help regulate like whatever is going on in your head. Usually it's sensory processing. But everybody stims, whether you know it or not. Like if you've ever tapped on a desk with a pen or like shaking your leg when you're like anxious or something, that's a form of stimming. But there are a bunch of different kinds of stims. There's like body stims, which is stimming done with your body. One of my favorites is like shaking my hand like I'm trying to get water off of it. Or even like that. Rocking.
God, I love rocking. Me too. It's so like comforting.
Yeah. But then there's like a lot of people use stim toys or like any objects to stim.
I just bought a whole bunch last night.
Me too. We
were
were up till like midnight.
We were up till 12:30.
Like stim toy shopping on my bed with both of our laptops open looking at stim toys. Mine is going to be here in a few days.
Mine too.
I'm so hyped.
I'm so
But
pumped.
like you might have heard of fidget cubes or fidget spinners.
I have one somewhere.
Yeah, I
Your
also
fidget
have one.
cubes behind them.
Yeah. I'll go
I
grab
like
it for demonstration purposes.
Yes.
This is a fidget cube if you've never seen one before.
They're everywhere.
There's like some clicky buttons and
Click it.
stuff. Oh no!
I love the clicky buttons. Did you break it?
The switch is like okay. I'll check that out later. But like there's a joystick and like buttons and like a spinny thing, like a worry stone type texture.
I have a worry stone in my wallet at all times.
And then like I've been stimming with this bracelet I bought today, just like stretching it and twisting it and stuff. Just anything to keep my hands busy. Rubik's Cubes are a very popular stim toy. I like using them because I can solve them really quick, and it's fun to like try and move my hands quickly and like solve them in like a minute and a half.
Man.
But like stim toys.
What's it like to be good at that kind of stuff?
It's pretty fun for like the first week. Fun fact, in my 8th grade yearbook, because I learned how to do Rubik's Cubes in my 8th grade, and I also didn't talk much, so not many people knew anything about me, except that I knew how to solve Rubik's Cube. So half of the signatures in my yearbook are like, you're really good at solving the Rubik's Cube.
I love that.
But no, they didn't know anything else about me. They're like, hey, it was great knowing you for 10 years. You're really good at the Rubik's Cube. That's cool.
I love that.
But Rubik's Cubes are fun, and then, like, yeah, stim toys are just, like, another way you can self-stimulate to help regulate whatever is going on. So I stim a lot.
Boy, me too.
Yeah, I have a lot of body stims, but the thing is they're not very normalized, so like you can kind of get weird looks if you stim in public. I also make sure to have a wide support net. That also helps me cope with like, that also helps me cope with a lot of my problems. So like making sure that my friends and loved ones know what to look out for, and that they have a protocol to follow if they see me like dissociating or like having a panic attack or a flashback.
We still need to go over that.
That's like group meeting we need to have.
Yeah.
But like they all know like what I look like when I'm having like a bad day, or like the kinds of things I'll say, or like my triggers, and they make sure like, and I do the same for them because I have a lot of like friends who go through similar things. So I make sure to keep an eye on them and they keep an eye out on me. I also have like a lot of coping mechanisms saved to my computer, especially resource websites. I have a bunch of them bookmarked on my Chrome browser. Like my favorite is probably the Dawn Room, which is like a website to help you if you're like having a really bad day. I'll show it to you later. It's really cute. Or like if you've ever seen like the emergency compliment websites.
That's a thing.
Yeah,
Oh
where you go on them and they give you a bunch of compliments.
I'm terrible at receiving compliments though. They make me feel so bad.
Oh, there's emergency manatee, which is it shows you like a meme of a manatee that's saying you can do it, or like other various phrases.
I love that.
Or there's one called Life in Neon, which I won't get super into because it's pretty complex, but if you're like not okay and need help, but you don't want to like, it's not enough that you need to like call a hotline, go on Life in Neon. It is so helpful, and it helps to like work through whatever is bothering you. And if you're still not okay, then probably call a hotline. But yeah. So those are a lot of my coping mechanisms. Also knowing my limits and knowing how to recognize if something bad's about to happen so I can take care of myself. So yeah, those are my coping mechanisms. Would you like to talk about yours?
I sure would. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Great. So a lot of the same things I rock too. Like, either, it's kind of funny because I've noticed that I rock either when I'm very anxious or when I'm content. We were playing Cards Against Humanity the other day, and like I just started like doing happy little wiggles.
Yeah, I wiggle so much when I'm happy.
Right.
Yeah. I've been like teased by my friends like in a nice way.
I was
like,
gonna
not
say
like actual
I
tease.
was like, I'll
like
fight them.
no, like by my friends it's like a nice tease where they like make jokes about me like
tease,
wagging my imaginary tail is what it looks like. Because when I'm happy I wiggle and they say I look like an excited dog.
I love that. So yeah, I rock, and then what else do I do? I use STEM toys. I love my fidget cube dearly. Weight is a huge thing for me.
Same.
Like, I'm so grateful that, like, my grandma made me, like, this huge fucking, like, blanket that I use every night, because it's like, she crocheted it. It's such the perfect weight.
It is.
She crocheted
this here.
Okay, cool. She, like, crocheted this for me for my graduation gift from high school, and, like, I'm like, great, now I don't have to go out and spend $200 on a weighted blanket. That's perfect. All I had to do was spend 4 years in private high school tuition.
So
Love
nice.
that. Right?
I love this.
Right? You can't have it.
Okay.
It's mine.
Okay.
What else do I do?
I thought
Auditory stims?
Yeah, I didn't talk about that. I do a lot of auditory stims. I'm really like embarrassed of them. I do
Right?
that.
I click my tongue.
I feel like auditory stims are the ones that are like hated on the most. Skin picking and skin scratching is a problem for me.
That.
Yeah. I have scars on the back of my hand from like scratching them from being anxious. The auditory stims, but I was also going to mention on the topic of weighted stuff is that like often when I was like having a really bad attack or something, I would just have my friends like grab couch cushions and put them on top of me and like sit on top of the couch cushions.
God bless.
So nice.
I want friends like that. Fuck. I want friends who'll just be like, I'm having a panic attack. Just fucking
Sit on me.
Smother me.
Yeah.
Hit me with your car.
But continue with your coping mechanisms.
I'm trying to think of other ones. I watch a lot of like YouTube.
Comfort shows and stuff.
Yes. Fuck. I have like safe shows that I watch from like when I was a kid. So when I was really little, I watched Bear in the Big Blue House on Playhouse Disney, and he's like such a big, gentle. He's such a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's so
I watch
nice.
the Muppets a lot when I'm sad. I love the Muppets.
What's the Muppets? My Little Pony is another one. That's kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine.
You're valid.
I don't like admit that a lot because people will give me weird looks.
You're valid.
Phineas and Ferb is another one for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a good watch.
They got a killer soundtrack.
Yo. Can we listen to that after this?
Yeah.
You think great. But I think definitely having trigger warnings is important.
Yeah.
Because I get flashbacks. Also.
Another coping mechanism is like
Earplugs. Fuck.
headphones. I don't even have to have music playing.
Right.
Just like having them in my ears is so nice.
I feel like that's another thing that's like if I have like my headphones on that connect to like Bluetooth, people are gonna think I'm being rude.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality it's like I just don't. I can't right now.
Yeah.
So
But like this slight muffle of having earbuds on, even if it's not like sound canceling, is like.
Well, because then you can like focus more on the person that's talking to you or like whatever you're doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I started drinking a lot of tea because I'm
self-care.
Right? Fuck. So yeah, that kind of stuff. Knowing my limits, things like that. Taking my medication, which is something that I can be bad at sometimes. Yeah, I think that's really all of my coping mechanisms.
Cool.
So the reason for making this video is because like one of my fascinations with psychology is just the fact that people can have similarities in stories, in symptoms like we do, and things like that, but still like react in a completely different way or have a completely different diagnosis than the person who experiences similar things. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that and just talk about how that's really interesting. This is less of a casual video, but I still think it's cool to like look at what we both experience and then the differences in our diagnoses.
Yeah.
So do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So my primary diagnosis is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPSD, or CPTSD. There we go. I forgot the T.
I found it right here.
Oh, you're valid. Okay. But primarily CPTSD, and then also sensory processing disorder and possible ASD, but we haven't really got it formally like tested yet, but that's like something we're suspecting.
ASD stands for autism spectrum disorder, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. But those are my primary diagnoses. A lot of my like symptoms and prior diagnoses can be encapsulated in CPTSD, like the chronic insomnia and depression and anxiety and social anxiety. Those are all diagnoses I previously had, but we realized that they were all just one diagnosis.
Right, part of the CPTSD, yeah. Diagnoses that I have at the moment are generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, persistent depressive disorder, or dysthymia, which is different than major depressive disorder. And that's it. Those are the only two, but there's like a lot in those two. And like I said in my intro video, I'm gonna see if I can get an official diagnosis for obsessive compulsive disorder. So I have a appointment next week. So we'll see how that goes. So, thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm so cool.
Cool.
Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.
Bye.